Welcome back to #Africa. Liberians have appealed to the country's president, George Weah, to establish a war crimes tribunal. They're calling for the punishment of those responsible for atrocities during the country's civil wars. Liberia's first civil war began in 1989 and ended in 1997 and killed over 250,000 people. A second civil war began 2 years later and lasted for over 4 years.
They shot me. But when they shot me, what really blessed me, I dropped. I was behind people when they shot me, I dropped. All the other people that they were shooting, they were just falling on me. Falling on me. Saying that I was very helpless. Helpless. That what happened to the bullet hit here, it came to leave my body here.
Rufus Carty is recalling the horrors he witnessed during one of Liberia's civil wars. He was shot in the leg during the 1990 Lutheran Church massacre, one of the most brutal attacks committed against civilians, in which 600 people died. For him, like many others, the wounds, both physical and mental, have yet to heal. That's why human rights groups in Liberia and abroad are calling for a war crimes tribunal to be set up to try those responsible.
We at the United Nations believe that for the gains that have been realized to be sustainable, grievances of the past must be addressed.
Liberia's Truth and Reconciliation Commission previously recommended creating a war crimes court, but it was never carried out. President George Weah was due to attend a human rights conference this week, but failed to show up. Human rights advocates called his absence disappointing.
Torrential rain has flooded several parts of Mali's capital, killing at least 15 people and causing widespread damage. Mali has experienced heavy downpours since the beginning of the rainy season, and Bamako experienced the worst of the heavy rains.
This is the aftermath of heavy flooding in Mali's capital, following torrential rain which lashed several parts of the city overnight. Over a dozen people have died, according to local reports. In Bamako's Niamakoro district, residents blame the government for not doing enough, saying rubbish left uncollected in the streets had blocked key canals.
For me, this is a warning for the Niamakoro residents. The government only comes after the damage is done. We need to take care not to lose lives. They're talking about 6 to 10 people killed, and we need to be cleaner. It's because of the garbage that the river overflowed.
Mali is one of the poorest countries in the world, and authorities struggle to provide adequate public services. Garbage disposal and wastewater treatment are acute problems, especially in a fast-growing city like Bamako. It's estimated that around 85% of residents handle their own sanitation. A government spokesman said the flooding had caused serious damage, collapsing buildings and damaging roads. Some residents have been left homeless on the streets, with the few possessions they managed to save.
Ugandan pop star and popular lawmaker Bobi Wine is accusing the government of blocking his concerts and intimidating his business partners. Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi, has been a vocal critic of President Yoweri Museveni, and this has landed him in hot water more than just a few times.
Uganda's popular opposition figure and pop star Bobi Wine says the government is financially strangling him. In an interview with Reuters, the singer, whose birth name is Robert Kyagulanyi, said his concerts were being blocked and his business partners intimidated.
Almost all my businesses have been closed. All people that I have contracts with have been ordered to disassociate themselves with me. All people in the entertainment industry have been ordered not to work with me. All the music sound service providers, stage service providers, all music promoters have been ordered not to work with me, and some have actually been paid in the tune of billions, not to work with me. So the regime has tried to attack me from multiple fronts.
The government did not immediately respond to these accusations, and Reuters cannot independently verify the claims. Wine is one of Uganda's top singers and has many fans across East Africa. But it's his growing popularity as a lawmaker that has rattled the government. Wine's already indicated his intention to contest the country's next presidential election in 2021, running against incumbent President Yoweri Museveni in power since 1986.
They are certainly seeking to strangle me financially, but I'm glad that by the time they were too late to do this, because one, already the fact is that I come from the ghetto. There was a time when I had nothing.
As a prominent critic of incumbent Museveni, Wine's been in hot water more than once. Just last month, he was detained and put under house arrest. And last year, he was badly beaten by security forces. But the artist-cum-politician says he plans to press on with anti-government protests and has had talks with 3 small opposition political parties who have agreed to field him as a joint candidate for the next election.
It's time to take a look at what's been dominating social media across the continent. A video that's gone viral of a man striking American actor and former governor Arnold Schwarzenegger has resurrected the Africa is not a country debate on social media. Africans called out American entertainment magazine TMZ for reporting that Schwarzenegger was attacked in Africa. That's instead of specifying that the widely reported incident happened in South Africa. Africans across the continent distanced themselves from the incident. Meanwhile, Schwarzenegger has assured his fans that it wasn't such a big deal. The Ethiopian Prime Minister has hosted what many are calling Ethiopia's most expensive dinner. Abiy Ahmed entertained 200 business leaders in a fundraising dinner, and the cost, a neat 2.5 million rand a plate. Many have taken to social media to draw up comparisons between the elite and the poor in the country as a result. But the Prime Minister insists it's for a good cause. He says the funds raised will go towards beautifying the capital, Addis Ababa. Ghana's all-time record scorer Asamoah Gyan has sent shockwaves through his country. That's after announcing his international retirement just a month ahead of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. The international footballer is protesting over not being given the captain's armband. While some weren't too impressed by the timing of his decision, others chose rather to take a trip down memory lane to some of his greatest moments. The 33-year-old has scored over 51 goals for the Black Stars. To date, he's also the African player with the most strikes at the FIFA World Cup. And that's where we're leaving it for this edition of #Africa. Until next time, from myself, Ropiwa, and the team, take care.